Hello, everyone. Welcome to our third episode from inner suffering to inner joy. I am here with the company of modern philosophers and transformation specialists that have moved different minds around the globe. So far, Spain, Switzerland, Norway, Mexico, Canada, and coming soon, for what I heard, USA. Tanya and Pedro, I am very excited of all your growth. And so, how are you, Tanya, today?
So happy to be here exploring these topics with you both. Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much, Tanya. Pedro, thank you very much for being here as well. How you doing?
Very well. Thank you, Angel, for having us. It's our joy to be here.
Yes, yes. So far, let me tell you guys that I've been getting plenty of texts and and comments from close ones, and some of them complaining about my accent. But for the most part, they say that we are sharing some very interesting facts. And
Uh,
so, with that being said, I am choosing an interesting topic for today's episode because it is very relevant to me. And so, what happened last week is that I watched my daughter's dance recital last week. She danced this song called This Woman's Work. It creates some sort of insecurity. And so, a few questions came to my mind, like how much am I supporting? Um, or influencing my daughter in developing her feminism.
Mhm.
um am I failing with her in the same game of achieving success?
Mhm.
And so, Tanya, of course, right now I am talking about my daughter,
Mhm.
but I know that throughout 20 years you've been working with a lot of women
Mhm.
through immersions, through programs. And so I just want to ask you, through all this work, what is cyclical, what is parent like in the suffering of women in today's world?
Well, that's a huge topic, but um, you know, after so many years, what I would say is that what cyclical and pattern like is that women try to imitate more masculine qualities to feel successful. One of the things that I advocate the most is that when we talk about feminine and masculine energy, is that we understand that we both have both. It's
Mhm.
not a gender thing; it's an energy thing. So when we look at the world, we see that we are out of balance. The masculine energy is out of balance, and this can be seen as with the way that we treat the earth, with over ambitiousness, and with this idea of colonizing and making things property. And what I would say is that women and men need to harness more the feminine energy. What would that look like? It looks like more collaboration, less competition. It looks like more connection to rituals, whatever rituals we want. We can even invent them, where we bring back the concept of sacred, the sacredness of the day, the sacredness of life, the sacredness of connection, and how fragile that is. We need to bring back this idea of connection as a web, that it's not only you and me here, but we are always in relation to a bigger, broader web of life. And that every action has that resonance, that we're not just looking out for ourselves, but we are looking out for the whole. So this idea of caring, of nurturing ourselves, others, of collaborating, of bringing back a concept of sacredness and rituals are very important. And women, because we carry life in our bodies, have the capacity to tap into that more and share it. Men do as well, but they're supported by the female energy in this case, just in like the same way that men are like us women are supported by the strength and decisiveness of men to do things. So what I would say to the women today growing up is really study, get in touch as to what it is to balance your feminine energy as well as
Yes.
your masculine.
Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you, Tanya. I think I take with me the word collaborative.
Mhm.
And so, Pedro, let me take the microphone back to you. And so, within our inner world, as we mentioned last program, there are different voices, identities, many of them with their own personalities or belief systems. And I can say that because there is a part, a voice within me that longs for a better connection with women. And this is a part that just in recent years changed its role. As for many years, it struggled to look at women with respect and compassion. I mean, and I'm starting here even with my mom. And so, as you have been delving deeply in the internal family systems and parts work, how important is this work with oneself if we are attempting, like Tanya said, to create a more collaborative society?
Well, personally, I don't think there's other more important work. That simple. There's nothing more important than this in my own experience, in my own perception, because when when we when we start going inside and we start connecting with those parts within us, and we start getting to know them, and we start getting to understand their struggles and their innocence, and their having to deal with different challenges throughout our um, evolution in this life, through our growing up in this life, we understand where these thoughts come from and why. We understand where the anxiety comes from and why. We understand where the fear, the pain comes from and why. And as we understand the origin, and we update all of those internal beliefs that are being manifested in our different parts that are concerned to who we really are, as we update them to who we really are, we start accessing inner harmony. It's just there's understanding inside. And as we experience understanding inside, we can finally move outside and live, right? When our internal world is complicated, it's polarized, is challenging, is driven by anxiety, by patterns, by cycles, by reactivity. When our inner world is driven by those things, we barely, we can barely move outside. We can barely interact with the world because this is taking all our energy, right? We can see, the effects of intense levels of anxiety or depression, et cetera, is isolation, is being, disconnected, frozen, right? And that's because all this energy is being consumed. Uh, but the more we interact inside, the more trust we build with our inner systems and our inner parts, the more we engage with them, the more harmony. And when we have harmony, everything starts working.
Absolutely. And I would like to, I'm going to go back with Tanya, but you mentioned a concept that I would like to touch. You mentioned about the memory consolidation in the last program, and I feel that it fits here. So let me go back to Tanya right now. And so, Tanya, this is very alive in me.
Mhm.
Because as I told you, I have a daughter that she's 15 years old, and there is much confusion within myself into what is the best way for me to influence her life, right? Promote her connection with this world.
Mhm.
And it is because of you that you have recommended me plenty of books that is helping me through that process. And so with the impact of patriarchy in our current world.
Mm-hmm.
I just have two main questions here. What is exactly what you invite women to notice, to do, to act on? That's my question number one. And question number two is how can we men be a support or a spring to develop an evolving movement that truly promotes and creates a better relationship with the feminine? And here you mentioned two very important things. Just not feminine with the other gender, but the feminine also within ourselves
Mm-hmm.
as men. Please, Tanya.
Well, what I would invite to first understand is that as women, and using a little bit of the language of IFS, we have big, very big legacy burdens around the fact that being a powerful woman or being a woman that is fully aligned and in her power in the past has been punished, is not usually celebrated. It is judged, or back in the years, 500 years, you were burnt at the stake, or you were shunned, or you were judged deeply, or you were either if you were assertive and a leader, you would be called the B word, right? And if not, then you were submissive. So what I want to bring to women is to notice that this is not just a personal thing. This is a collective burden that we've been carrying, and that we need to become aware of the history of how women have been treated when they want to step into their power. Because unless we unburden those things personally and collectively, what happens is that women self boycott. So we feel that we need to give something up, either family or partner or work, or not go as achieve as much as we want, because the price because it will be dangerous. And that we need to be very conscious of the ways that we self boycott ourselves. And this is not about attacking anything external. It's about really understanding what it means to step into our power and our freedom and moving from that place. Because this can be very easily taken as an attack to just men or things like that. And the point, I think the point is, even if, yes, there are structures that are not supporting women fully, there should be, because there needs men, in my experience, and in this case, was part of your question, right? How can men support this? Well,
Yes.
men can definitely support this by understanding that when women are empowered, we're not taking power away from them. We are adding and balancing. We're adding and balancing. And this makes us all more powerful. Because sometimes the male toxic pattern is either you or me. Who's going to win? You or me? And in the feminine balanced energy, it's an us. It's we. We win. And we win if you are fully in your power and I am fully in my power. We win. So how does a we that has us both powerful look like? This is the question. And this is something that we still are uncovering.
Yes. Yes. I mean, and I think that with those words, you keep talking about this collaborative way of connecting, not as much as a competition, which seems that that's how we've been trained
Yes.
for centuries, for
Yes.
generations.
Just look at the presidency. Anything that it's in power, it's either this guy or that guy. It's either you or me.
Yeah.
And that is very old and very lacking, unfortunately.
Yes. Yes, Tanya. Thank you. And so, Pedro, so with what Tanya just shared, throughout centuries or millennia, we just have been we consume different ideologies, whether political, religious, social, and last week you talked about the memory reconsolidation. And so updating these long-term memories just might be essential to maintain the relevance or even sense in today's world, right? And so I believe that the concept of memory consolidation fits as a possible first step for our society. And so, as we're talking about patriarchy today, and how is it that we can question it through the lens of self-inquiry? And so, my question to you here is: do we start this process individually, or is it too ambitious to think about a quicker way to update ideologies within communities or
Yeah,
large groups?
mhm. Yeah, I'm all for expansion and accessibility. I think um, memory reconsolidation in its different forms is the the tool of the future. And what we need to consolidate, as we can recall from last time, is the assumptions we had about life, about reality, about ourselves, about others, that were limiting. When we update our parts, our inner assumptions, our inner algorithms, they become free because they understand now that they have access to all the resources that they did not have access when they were younger, or they were more limited in terms of resources. But I think the key aspect to talk about here, Angel, is there is no memory reconsolidation without self energy. Self energy is the healing agent, not the guru, not the facilitator, not the therapist. Self energy is the healing agent. And by self energy, we mean that inner energy that has profound qualities like connection, compassion, understanding, groundedness, alignment, power, courage, etc., etc. We've all been there. We've all been in that energy, right? The true gift, I think, of this model is that it also teaches us and trains us and allows us to identify that energy and be able to go back to it and be able to stay in it and be able to relax into it and be able to embody it, so that we can go back and do memory reconsolidation with the parts of us that are carrying memories that are heavy and destructive and reactive. So memory reconciliation is about updating our old algorithms, our old parts, our old reactivity patterns. And what do we update them to? We need to have a reference to where the update is going to go. When we update a new computer with a new version of a software, we have a better software, we have the new version. Well, we all have the better software already installed within. We just don't recognize it, or it gets, you know, um,
Clouded.
clouded by all the noise inside and all the pain inside and all the anxiety inside. But as we do in the trainings we offer, we finally find a way to access that energy. We finally find a way to recognize it, which is incredibly important. Just recognizing it, then relaxing into it, then embodying. This is an energy that you don't need to construct, you don't build it. This is not a gradual process. Oh, I have 10%, now I'm going to get 20%. It's always been there. We're born with it. It's just a matter of allowing ourselves to make some space from the intensity of the parts and the blending and the distraction, so that we can actually allow that little sunshine, little internal sunshine, to come out from behind the clouds, right? So there's no memory reconsolidation without accessing self energy and bringing self energy into the system, because self energy itself and the qualities that self energy brings are what we update to, right? So in moving forward as communities, I strongly believe we need to find ways to have this model be accessible to as many people as possible. Group group work, self practice, trainings that allow for that to happen. I strongly believe that this can be done at a bigger scale than just one on one, and we are devoting our time right now to actually um, try to get there, or at least offer the possibility to some people to be able to access it in that way.
Yes, I totally recognize this work because I've been part of Innerland as a student for over 8 years, and Tanya, really, I wanna give you this credit because for all these years that I have been practicing self inquiry, this is the most impactful part of my life. The way that I am able to notice how, as I create clarity within all those clouds, that internal clouds that Pedro was mentioning, I have been able to create deeper connections with those around us. And of course, today we're talking about patriarchy and my relationship with women and accepting how I lack of respect, compassion in the past. But this update that Pedro explains, it is powerful because it has always been there. Like he mentioned, it has always been there. I always had that version, that newer version, that more respectful, more compassionate version. Um, but I just gave myself the chance through self-inquiry, through IPC, through Innerland in this case, and the result is just a better understanding of how to connect um, peacefully and responsible with, in this case, with the feminine, right? So Tanya, I'm giving you this credit, and so can you please share one last comment? I know this is such a huge subject that we cannot talk in 25 minutes, 30 minutes of a program, but what would be your final words on this subject? In providing tools to the women and the guys out there that are willing to create more of a collaborative relationship between male and females.
Becoming whole is the only reason we're here. We are a fragmented world internally and externally. And we need to bring unity and reconciliation. And that can only happen first if we do it inside. It's not first about doing it outside, politically or socially. It's about doing it inside first. And that requires a lot of energy and it requires a lot of time. Because because the fragmentation, the internal fragmentation, like I said before, it's not only about us, it's also ancestral. We have also inherited. And we need to, and this is the good news. The good news is that at Innerland, we have the tools that in our experience are the fastest, more effective ways. And by fast, I mean that in a session of 20 minutes, of 30 minutes, profound changes can be had. And we owe it to ourselves to at least try to experience this and to bring this to our lives, because we all deserve to be peaceful, free, whole, integrated, and happy. And if we are that for ourselves, what would follow is to be that for everybody else in the world. It will just be obvious what to do next. But we cannot skip our internal process. And that internal process is a lifestyle. It's not like a one-off thing. It's a lifestyle of how we relate to ourselves internally.
Yes, absolutely. Tanya, thank you very much. Self-work. Pedro, what would be your final words for today's program?
I think for me, the most important aspect to all this is an invitation to ask ourselves, when is it enough? When is it enough pain? When is it enough internal division, internal polarization? When is it enough? Are we done? Are we done with the cycles? Are we done with living a life that's always, on a shoestring? Are we done? And the question for me has always been yes, for many, many years. And I know there's many, many, many people out there that the answer to the question is yes as well. So if that is the answer to the question, we invite you to explore what we're doing and learn a little bit more about the programs we offer and the methods we offer, because we see profound, powerful transformation every single day.
Yes.
Absolutely. Wow. Thank you very much, guys. We're coming to an end of the third episode of From Inner Suffering to Inner Joy. Again, this is a blast, Tania and Pedro, and I consider myself so lucky to be doing all this work with all of you. And I look forward for our last and fourth episode of this series. And I know we're going to be talking about relationships next week. And so it's going to be fun as well. So thank you very much for everyone that is watching.
Thank
And
you.
we look forward to see you next week. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for everything, Angel.
Thank you.
Bye.